just like in tester development. That would be a cool thing to show.
Yeah. I never did. Because I don't think I've even seen that. But anyhow, I mean, in a public forum kind of. But yeah, but testers don't have to code. It helps if they understand the coding. It really does. And in a lot of teams, the testers I've worked on both kinds of teams, where the testers are fully functional programmers that can do the coding, especially if you're working on an embedded system or a message handling system or anything like that that has got a lot of business logic. I hate to say business logic, but application kind of those testers are technical. Now, if you're working on a financial system, heart attack. If you're working on a financial system or a banking system, that there's a whole lot of business logic, you're going to need a different tech tester. You're going to want somebody with a lot of business domain, a lot of understanding. And maybe they don't need to know how to code because you're using their skills from they'll care. And if you use the right skills to test, the developers will get involved.
I think part of the problem with this is there aren't any great tools. There are some okay tools. And there was this conference last year before the Agile conference, which is one day of people getting together in a lot of these discussions. So robot, cucumber, but differing very much from the X unit stuff, they start the discussions that's actually really building because it's not about the innards of the code, which I think is the developer's domain. But it's more, and if they're narrative tests, it's more about do we understand what we're trying to do before we get into the complexity of actually doing it.
So a narrative test, so my acceptance test would be defined as when, given then when. So given is, here's my precondition, given this is happening. When the trigger, when this happens, so, then you have a postcondition, which is the result. And the developer takes that, and those keywords that has given then when, and some ands and things like that, they take that and write the fixture behind it. I've specified the test for either a tester point of view or a customer point of view, and the developer writes the fixture behind it. I've written it in narrative form, and but that's how you work together. If you're using something like tabular format kind of thing, then I can specify my tests in a spreadsheet format. Financial system, lots of calculations. An easy fit. I can write all of my different tests, and all the tests are as examples. And the developer writes the fixture behind it. Those are collaborative tools. And they work really, really well because they're written in the domain language.
Cucumber, I know how to fit. I've only seen the videos Bob Martin put on his blog, but you see only the wiki part. You don't see what's behind, how you connect, and that part I don't know.
So the wiki part is fitness. Yeah. My preference is that I'm not I actually prefer not to use the wiki. I've worked with teams that have developed spreadsheets and just read into fit. So it's the same thing, but in spreadsheets versus a wiki. But it works the same way. It's just fixtures behind the scenes.
Load the data from the spreadsheet instead of the wiki.
Yeah.
And the code mediates between the tests and the system under tests. Absolutely. For my example, Janet would kind of frame up the tests, and I would say, oh, I understand those, and maybe we choose one happy path and one unhappy path, and I build this fixture for her. And now she's empowered to write 1,000 tests if she wants to. And there's a real additive quality to it. And it's really interesting that you would say you know Cucumber but not Fit. Because, well, Cucumber is just the next developer testing tool on steroids. You know, it's all the geeks are flocking to Cucumber, you know, but they're the only people that think it's wonderful. And this is a controversial discussion. That's why I like the pyramid that I think is wonderful. I usually draw it as like a continuum. And in my little ideal world, I'm banging away code, and I think, boy, I wish we had a test here. But I'm not just stuck with X unit, N unit, J unit. I can slide over and say, oh, this isn't a developer test. This isn't a micro test. This isn't about a set of tests that tell the story of the code that are like by the developers, for the developers. This is a logic test or a business test, or I'm trying to understand the domain, or I slide the continuum over and it's a UI test, just like in the pyramid. And I think if you put tools in there, you have JUnit, Fit, Water. That's a stack that I see used a lot. That's why Water stands for, does anybody use Water here? It stands for Web Acceptance Testing Unit. Unlike Selenium, Water allows you to build up a set of tests with a nice layer of abstraction, so you're not just stuck. I'm pretty anti-Selenium these days because it feels like crack. And I'm not a crack addict, but you know, if I were, I would. It seems like people get really excited by their first 200 to 300 Selenium tests, and then it starts running really slow, and it's really a lot of maintenance, and it doesn't start communication because you push the screen down. Do you have that same experience?
I've actually tried to use Selenium and not been able to get it to work. So I go back to Water. So powerful.
Works on server side and you can run it right into the result remote.
So what Selenium does is it's going to and since all these tests using Selenium, and we don't leave it to what it's meant to be, which is just testing, not testing the workflow. It's too easy to make it the workflow test, and that's why it's slow, long, and same as any other record playback ever is in existence.
But there, I think it's also a technical matter. Then, if you just want to test the code, you need to have something like Michael Feather's humble dialogue packing, where you totally decouple the business logic from. And again, in my situation where everything is going like that spaghetti, what do you do?
So you start doing it in a chunk at a time. And so I think one of the biggest things is raising awareness to the development team how hard it is to test from a functional point of view if you don't have that decoupling. Now my biggest problem these days in testing is JavaScript. Because we're putting the logic back up into the code. And
there are no patterns for JavaScript.
Well, Ruby, we can do some things with Ruby and Water, JavaScript, but you're limited, right? And we're putting the logic back up there. So from a testing perspective, JavaScript is my
That's such a great statement, right? Because all the Uber geeks I know are just like, pump up the JavaScript. And it's kind of like, dude, I know it's. I heard Dave Thomas say one time the problem with JavaScript is we run it in the browser, which is a good joke because it's not a bad language. It's just when it gets in the browser, it becomes. To your comment though, the big ball of mud syndrome, because Mike Feather's book, in fact, the Legacy Code, is a tough read, but it's fantastic. It's just an amazing book. And Mike is this astounding coach, but no one calls Mike a coach. He just floats in and pairs with people in this amazing anonymous fashion. But that's what I was saying when we were kind of talking, is that I walk into a lot of situations where there's tons of code, and starting with unit tests is a bad idea, in my experience, because you're thinking, boy, you're really sick, but instead of talking to the patient, my solution is, let's cut open your leg and dig around and see if there's something in there. And I think you have to kind of go from the outside in. You got to get a wall that advocates on behalf of the product and the users before you start worrying about how many unit tests you have.
So my example that I gave, when we started tackling and refactoring each chunk,
Yeah.
we did put in our layer of unit tests to start with, because you do have to have that.
But I love what you said is you drove the responsibility down to the developer. Because it can't be us and them. Those days are gone, you know.
So to clarify, in your view, there are three types of tests: the GUI testing, the business domain testing, and the unit testing.
So that's the simplest. And so actually, if I'm using this is for automation. I use this for automation. If I'm categorizing tests, I use the quadrants. The agile testing quadrants.
I do like, though, while she's drawing that, the unit test dialogue has become so noisy that Janet went out of her way to say, when I mean unit tests, I'm talking about automated tests. JB calls those developer tests. The guys in Industrial Logic call them micro tests. I always think of that as tests as like by the developers for the developers. If you and I sit down to code, I want to show you the tests because that's the intent of the methods in the classes. That's what I want them to do, and so it's my own documentation. So I don't think that's really helpful for anyone outside of our little space.
Yeah, the terminology in the testing world is a little bit a problem for people to agree on. I recently saw on some mailing list a huge debate: unit tests, micro tests. How do you call them?
Yeah. So when I categorize tests, I use this. Brian Merritt developed it in 2003, and when he first drew it on a napkin on the conference, I went, write about it so that we can use this, because it really makes it easy to talk to business, testers, developers, everybody can talk. The bottom half is technology-facing tests, so it's more in technical language that you use. This is business-facing tests, so it's domain. Your customers should understand anything that's in this topic. These are tests that support the team, and these are ones that critique the product. So that's how it's kind of divided up. So you get rid of all of the things like calling it integration tests. We'll say, these are technology-facing tests that support the team. So I don't care what you call them, but traditionally, they're unit tests. If you're doing TDD, you're writing them first to support the team, right? The technology-facing because they're in the technical language. And these numbers have nothing to do about when you test, it's just easier for us. So if we're supporting the team with business-facing tests that support the team, these are the ones we write our acceptance tests first, we're supporting the team. If I write all of my automated functional tests and I give them to the developers first, they're supporting the team, they're helping write, they're helping to do the right thing. These are anything, examples. If I get an example from my customer in my iteration planning, it falls in this category. If I do a mock-up of a UI before I ever start coding, it falls in this category. Anything to help support the team. These ones, I'm critiquing the product. It's been coded. If I'm doing all my testing, this is traditionally where testing falls, right? Critiquing the product. So, exploratory testing, UA, user acceptance testing. Those are all types of testing. We're critiquing the product. And down here, technology-facing tests that support, that critique the product. These are all reliability, operability, interoperability, accessibility, blah, 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 all of those things. Load, performance. You generally need specialized tools to do these kinds of tests, right? And you're critiquing. It's harder to write these tests to support first, it's usually after. So this is a good way to classify it, to say Why? What is the purpose? What are we trying to do with this?
And then you can back into the tool. Oh, here's what we're trying to do.
Yes.
Here's who's involved. Here's which tool. So actually, one of the coaches at Nokia was a Romanian guy, and he said to me once, if you fence people in, they'll become sheep. Because he was working with this large group of people that had been told what to do for a very long time. And I think there's a lot of testers, this is kind of a gross generalization, that get chucked into an Agile project, and they're like, and now you're going to automate. They've never banged any code, they've only used tools, and they're pretty scared. And they freak out, and split.
Yes.
And they walk out the door with a lot of knowledge.
Yes.
They have all this tacit knowledge in their head of how the product works, and it's kind of an anti-pattern.
It is, yeah. I was talking to one team, and they said they had been thrown in, the test teams disbanded. You're working with this team. Within 3 months, 90% of their testers had left.
I've read something of the opposite. There was this guy complaining on the testing team mainly, and he said, well, okay, our company said we're going to do Agile from now on. I've only done regular type for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. I've been kicked out.
Because they don't understand.
I need to start learning this. Where do I start with? And I found that a little bit sad.
But it is, and a lot of times those testers will leave because they shouldn't be kicked out, but the role hasn't been defined in their organization, and nobody has told them what their role is and how effective it can be. A tester on an Agile team, I would never go back. Being a tester on an Agile, it's fun. I get to work with the developers. I get to learn new things. I get to have impact.
It happened to me. First, was introduced to Selenium because that is a tool that we found quickly at a quick time.
And it's easy. It's dangerously easy. It's easy to become a crack at
for the
it.
test. He recorded a test, he recorded 20 tests, he recorded 100 tests, and suddenly in a day he had a little knowledge of programming in PHP. And suddenly one day he just I can learn this in extremely many tests because I can, instead of saving it as HTML, I can save it as PHP, and I can do a for each, and I can insert many values in the test. And he came to me, look, I have 100 tests now. What? Yesterday you had 10. Yes, but so he was very excited, and he started learning more and more PHP to run more and more tests. It's kind of normal from a guy that only clicked buttons. He ended up in a program.
So yeah, but it's attitude, right? He had attitude.
Yes.
He wanted to learn. But like programmers, there's going to be testers that don't want to learn new things. It's like the programmers that don't want to learn parent or that don't want to learn test programming. There's testers that want to learn that stuff or aren't going to extend themselves. Those are the ones that are going to have problems.
You go back to your comment too, though. I mean, that your story smells bad out of the box with the sentence, our company is going to start doing Agile. Like, ugh, and then we're going to do Agile, and it's kind of like, it's just weird.
Send out a 10-page document for the guidelines.
Yeah. There you go. It's just a recipe. It's a simple problem. Yeah, you solve it. Like this one, why are we trying to build automated acceptance testing? Because a lot of people here may think, oh, this is just another thing we have to do. And if you kind of back into it and say, wait a minute, this is a tool to help us not do a lot of dumb things, then but that's harder for people to hear. It's not the tools, that's why this quadrant is nice, because it speaks to purpose and make better decisions. Because I'm glad that dude was converted and felt empowered, but I've seen that pattern go bad so many times.
I'm curious why you are dissing Selenium a little bit, and
because I think there's a lot of mythology around how successful Selenium is, and in the end, almost every time I see it solely supported by the propeller heads. and the testers are shut out over time because as the number of tests grows, the complexity is, it doesn't provide meaningful abstractions for building good dialogue around testing, in my experience. And you hit 700 tests and it's slow and it generates all sorts of false positives. And that's the worst problem because then people stop trusting the tests and then they stop running the tests, and that's the story. And it's like, oh yeah, well those tests break all the time. Okay, then let's delete them. You know?
They cause less damage deleting.
Yeah.
Are these comments from the perspective where, okay, you take Selenium, you run your manual test, you record it, you put it in the test harness and forget about it, or even if you take the time to refactor the text, I don't know, pull up the paths to your elements in properly named variables, stuff like that, would that still happen?
So it's anecdotal evidence of walking into dozens and dozens of shops where the only place Selenium is successful is the people that have those skills are doing all that in a very disciplined fashion. And most of them usually give up and burn out. And it doesn't start rich discussions around this stuff. It's just another record playback tool, even though there is the possibility to do programmatic things with it. Whereas Water, that's why I called that out, is different. Water gives you a structure to build up the same tests. You do have to know how to code, but it seems more powerful over time. I mean, just one, maybe it's opinion.
So, but the trick is one size doesn't fit all, right? So if I've got JUnit for my unit tests, I might use Fit for my API level tests under the hood. I might use something else, and I might use Ruby with Water for my glue tests. Depending on your application, depending on what you're trying to do, just understand what the purpose is of your test. If I'm doing my ATDB, if I'm doing acceptance testing development, and I want to give my automation to the developers before they code, before they're finished, I want something that I can collaborate with. Selenium isn't like that. Fit does. Cucumber, I have Cucumber that looks like it does. Robot does. There's some out there that can actually allow you to collaborate. Yeah, and I don't have, I shut it down. I use the tiny URL because it's too long. I gotta figure it out. So anybody who wants to, there's a spreadsheet on the it's a Google Doc. And I don't have it right now, it's too long, not easy to use, but the spreadsheet shows you a lot of different open source tools and their capabilities, and there's a ton out there that's being kept up because people go in and say, here's our tool, and so yes, send me an email, I will send you the link.
You can do Korea to send them to.
Oh, yeah. So,
It's like, it's the Agile and automated functional testing.
Yeah, AA-FTT.
FTT. Here it is. That's a reference to it.
That's a reference to it. That's supposed to find it. It's too long. It's a Google Doc.
One big problem with dedicated testing does only testing, not switching paths, was that oh, I know this bug. This is planned to be released, fixed in release number 5. We are now in release number 3. I'm not reporting it anymore because I know it's going to be fixed in number 5.
So I'm a fan of zero tolerance bugs. No bugs that and I recognize that it's not always possible. It's not, especially when you're starting out. It's on a ton of legacy bugs, and it's just not possible. But if you got it as a goal, then you'll start actually thinking about fixing. This is a bug. Just fix the dumb thing now, and you work towards it. And I have seen a lot of teams that actually make it and have zero tolerance bugs. they don't, bugs just don't escape the iteration. The odd one, right? But what you end up doing, and when you say it's going to be fixed in release 5, some business person, and it should not be the tester, some business person has made that decision that says it's not important enough, the cost is too high, it's just not important enough, we're putting it in. And the odds are that bug's never going to get fixed. If they say it's going to be in release 5, it's way down. It's never going to Quite often I'll ask people, how many bugs do you have? How many bugs do you have? Open bugs do you have in the bug database right now? 5? What other number? 400? How many? 10? See? 5? Those are great. That doesn't, those are manageable bugs. When you get 400, when you get 1,000, they're not manageable. They become irrelevant. So delete them. Close them and delete.
For every sprint, we set a goal of number of bugs reaching production. And I'm trying to set it lower and lower. We set it up at 10, and now we've reached 5. So
yeah, so
acceptable.
If you get and you're fixing those bugs and you don't have that many waterfall, fixing them as you do, the only metric worth keeping is the number of bugs escaping to production. And that's, when you get there, you got it. Because if you can count those in less than 10, less than 5, less than 2, it's a wonderful.
The next goal is to set it lower to 4.
Yeah, exactly. But it's you just don't want them out there.
Yeah.
It's like a weird dysfunctionality that we've produced in the software industry. And the medical equivalent would be like, okay, so you're going to have this surgery and there's going to be problems, dude, so let's just prepare for those later. Expect that things are going to go wrong and let's set up a whole system around that. It's just, it absolutely enables ridiculous behavior. But it's probably just decades of having crappy systems that just evolved.
As you said, the medical system is a fixed system. Like this, you cannot go awkward because it will not evolve out of 10 years. But with software, you do evolve a lot.
That's not exactly what I said.
It's good to ask.
Yeah. I said that when you're building pacemakers, the medical community calls the inside of your body everything except for when you eat things and it flows through you. So the inside and the outside of your body are almost the exact opposite of what you might imagine. And when you're working on a pacemaker for a heart, that's a very little fixed system. I didn't say the medical process was simple.
But even for complex ones that we have to if we're starting to understand the domain, and if we're bringing those users in, doing story data, doing everything we can to understand, bring that user acceptance testing early, let them test every story, every feature as we build it. Once you put them onto production, there's no surprises anymore. You'll hear things like, oh, it would be really nice if it did this. Those are good things to have, right? But you have to bring it in. You have to make it early. You have to understand what it is that you're trying to build.
I think what you said too about symptoms is just so right on to this topic. Because people go chasing tools or processes and they kind of don't really know what they're trying to fix. And then they write a million tests that they get to maintain. And they're like, boy, I don't want to do that again. That was a drag.
Without understanding what happened.
So, what kind of process would you advocate? Let's say you're building a website, I don't know, with a lot of business logic. Do you go outside in, make the testers write, discuss with the customers and the product owner, do the cucumber tests first, and then they should go speak with the developers, reach an agreement.
So
How do you feel?
testing and developing should be part of one process. So I just heard you say, we do this, then we do this, then we do that. So we want to make them all concurrent. So when we're talking about, my favorite part about iteration planning, mean, you might have acceptance tests done before, but a lot of times do it in the iteration planning. At least a couple of high-level acceptance tests in the iteration planning meeting. If they're done beforehand, make sure you talk about it so that the developers hear it, everybody understands and has the same shared understanding. So as a tester, I don't want to be the go-between. I don't want to say, this is what the customer said. Yes. That's not what needs to happen. It needs to be, everybody has that shared understanding. So we're working towards the same goal. So I want to do the acceptance test at the iteration planning meeting, or at least talk about it at it. And then the tester will go off and expand the tests, expand the story tests, and think about all the different variations, and those will be done afterwards, because it's just too.
So this relates to what you said earlier. You talked about the user story, and then you talked about how do you test it. And based on that discussion, the developer writes some code, and the tester writes a little bit of test. If he has some questions,
They come together.
he discusses it with the developer or the customer proxy.
Yeah, and it needs to be that collaborative thing, right? So if we've got that shared understanding from an acceptance point of view, when I come and if I've automated my fit tests and I give you this spreadsheet and say, these are all the tests I'm going to do, whether it's automated or on a piece of paper, as a developer, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, what I would like to see from a developer is, we're going to be testing these things on our unit tests. You don't need to do them at a functional level. I don't duplication. But you're also going to suggest, well, why are you testing that? That's not part of the story. We're not doing that. We're not doing a query with a wildcard search. We're querying on whole name only, and I go, that's not my understanding. It allows you to collaborate. And then go do that power of three and go talk to the customer. It has to happen together, it seems.
Well, you said a lot of things that I don't know how many people have an immersive experience inside it. And one of the things she said was tell these tests. And I think what people do is they get all focused on how do you write stories. They put all this energy in. This is the easiest part. That's the story mapping thing. This is the story map. The next piece of the story maps is all in here. The examples, the narratives, the things that start discussions. So kind of that piece is like, this has to happen before you start coding, whether you automate it or not. It doesn't have to, but you can make some really bad decisions. And when people say, where are the details? Where are the details? The developers, I would say, what are you looking for in the details? And it's like, for example, or, well, if this, then that. Those are all tests in disguise that you're not talking about. And people that are asking those questions aren't mean or messed up. They're trying to get information so that they do the right thing. And that's like these teams that are involved. This is where most of the energy goes. Janet just said this. Happy path, unhappy path, and all the variations. And for even small stories, there's an infinite number of tests. And one of the throttles, I think, in the iteration planning is to find the tests that help you guys understand kind of where the value is. It's usually a combination of these. And one of the places I went in and coached, they estimated their stories in the number of acceptance tests. And that was when they first said it, I was like, because one developer said, well, dude, I think that's like 5 tests in there. He goes, no way, that's 12. And I thought, that's so cool that these dudes get that this is where the hard part of the discussions are, that they changed it to be their estimation model. And then you don't have this business points and story points. It's like, this is what you're trying to talk about. Just come with you. Keep your estimation process simple.
So actually, this acceptance test usually comes first from the product owner or from the person that is writing the user story, or it's a collaboration between the tester and the product owner?
Collaboration on the team.
On the team.
Because the developers need to take responsibility because they're using these to go develop code. If they don't get the tests,
I'm saying that usually, in my case, actually happened many times that the developers during the sprint were saying, okay, but nowhere was written that this user story was supposed to act like you are saying to me now.
So then they should be asking more questions up front in the initial if they're not,
Or
it's a strong word.
indication that the user story is not written correctly.
Symptom.
Symptom. It's
And
a
that's the
symptom.
kind of stuff that your retrospectives are supposed to be about. They're not supposed to be these love festivals where you all get together and go, I'm really happy about this, man. If you're not getting along and you don't understand the stories, they're just tools. Go in there and say, man, we're working away and it seems like a lot of things kept popping up around that story and that's not working for me because I end up banging a bunch of code that doesn't make sense. And to Rachel's point, I go into companies and they have these ceremonial retrospectives, and if they're really stupid, I just say, let's cancel all these, just to get them to freak out. You know, say, why do you think you're so valuable? You're just sitting there, you don't do anything, you waste an hour every week, either cancel them or make them meaningful. Talk about the real issues you have.
And that is really exactly it, because it's a symptom. Things pop up, bring it up and make the team solve the issue. It's not a tester problem, it's not a product owner problem, it's a team problem.
Now, to the notion of like, who does this? If the three of us start banging code for him and he's product guy and he's got this really cool idea, initially, he's going to be the one who has the most input. But after 6 iterations, if we're still asking him to spoon feed us, then we are effectively the sheep wandering around the pen hoping he'll bring us food someday. You gotta bust out.
Somebody just told me a story this morning, or last night, about how you hypnotize
Chickens,
I just had
Testing in multiple teams from a coach perspective. So you are a person that goes into teams and you tell them that they're having a problem, they're going about the wrong way, and you're not suggesting you don't want to go there. You just pointing out that you have this opportunity and this there are these variations to solve this, and you can go this way and this way and this way, and you're just making them aware that they're having a problem. What's the next step?
making sure they talk about it and solve the problems. Like at least try something. So it's not good enough to say, yeah, these are the 3 different things you can try. And I wouldn't give them more than a couple of different ideas, because then it gets they don't. But make sure that they talk about it. Make sure that they say, you know what, we're going to try this. This is what we're going to do. So that's, from my perspective, it's probably the hardest thing to do, is get them to commit to trying something. How are they going to solve it? Who's going to be running with it? How are you going to measure it? How are you going to know your success?
A lot about across teams, or is it within one team?
Multiple companies.
Oh, okay, that's
There's a bigger, there's a bigger question there. I think like,
exactly.
so this has bugged me about the Agile community for a long time. So it sounds like every project is 6 guys building a website with one dude who knows everything. And that's a very small percentage of what I do. So if you just kind of start thinking of it, okay, what do we get from this Agile stuff? We get a cadence. We get some kind of a cadence that we can start tuning. And then you're trying to do, across, I always think about it as like across teams, across time, across features. That's where the complexity comes in. And this isn't a new problem. But once you get, a few groups spinning at some kind of a cadence that's known, even if there's an off-by-end problem, now you have a way to be able to say, okay, what are the cross-cutting issues? How do we establish this cadence? This gets dumbed down in the Scrum world as the Scrum of Scrums. And it's a lot more than that, right? That's just a little simple kind of scheduling discussion. But if you think about like aspect-oriented programming, the guys floated out this term called cross-cutting aspects. I'm not going to guys, yeah. And the idea of cross-cutting is right here. And so there's multiple things, and the testing stuff just throws you right into it. You don't get to run away from it, because if you have team A and team B that both consume from the engine team, you got to figure out when these dudes are going to produce what to whom. Because if these guys don't get what they want, they write it themselves. Or if you want to do meaningful abstractions and you say, well, there's this kind of cool thing growing down here, but it's also starting to grow down here and it's over here, and you say, actually we want to do like systems level architecture, because I don't think architecture is an evil word. Systems level architecture is hard stuff because it's cross-cutting, asynchronous, blah, blah, blah. Then you can start saying, that's a meaningful abstraction that we should promote here. And then you're not, building like service-oriented noise. That's what I call it. Because there's so much companies spending millions of dollars trying to build the Uber bus that these guys are going to use, and these guys don't want to take the bus, man. They're taxi dudes. And so then you waste money.
There was an example in Schwaber's book, precisely for this kind of problem. There was this editorial trust or something like that had different magazines, and they were trying to get them all to use the same product or the same, engine to publish. And what they did, they took part-time, they took several persons from the engines team, and they located them part-time in team A, team B, team C. And then they would come back and discuss together the best approach to serve those teams.
Which is, I think, one of the questions you have to come up with. What is your cross-cutting focus? So Janet was saying, build groups that are focused around delivering something of value instead of building groups around, we're this group, technology. You still have a cross-cutting issue, though. If you have multiple functional teams, your cross-cutting issue is then architecture, and there's a lot of patterns out there. One of the groups that I work with, they renamed their architecture group Engineering Services. And so the customers for engineering services are the business person, the technology person from each one of their teams that they're delivering value to, and that's who comes to their planning sessions. And because these dudes have to make a twofold sale. These are their users. And someone is selling their business guy total cost of ownership. And the technical guy is like, I don't want to consume your stupid API because it's slow and clunky and full of a bunch of noisy XML, man. I got a straight pipe to that other system and I'm rolling with that. Because I know that, and besides, I want a RESTful service or blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So you got to make this dual sale. And I'm not just trying to bring it back. In the end, it all comes back to how are you going to plug it all in and test it? Because if you don't connect these two, or you don't connect these two, and test them, there's no success here. You got an engine for a car that takes you nowhere. Yeah.
And one of the problems that, and I find myself doing, is you talk to the citizens, right? Because you're hitting 80% of the people, and you don't talk to this, because this is a whole other conversation. So, good point. Now you're awake. Yeah, energy to fun. Right? Yeah. So it is time for, I think, it's coffee time. This has been a great discussion.
Just one last quick question. So we've been talking about the desired outcome and the best practices and everything. Share with us a little of failures or ATDD, or the pitfalls, or I don't know, problems, recurring problems, stuff like that, things we should avoid.
You know what? I haven't come across any. If you're defining those acceptance tests up front, the pitfall is, the danger comes is not defining them so that the purpose is to clarify, right?
A communication issue.
It's to solve a communication problem.
Everything's relying on defining properly.
Properly done. But the purpose of acceptance test is to clarify the issue. So you've got the story, and you don't have, you don't want somebody talking like, the system shall do this. So the test is to help clarify what it is. because they're runnable. They document what my system is doing once they've been automated. And I've got them, running all the time, so it's always documentation that's up to date. So if the questions aren't answered, if the conversation doesn't happen, that's one of the pitfalls. My customer's gone off and he's written his acceptance tests, but we never talk about them. We don't have the clarification. So you don't have that shared understanding. Because what I understand from this one and what you understand may not be the same thing. So you really need to have the conversation. So that's probably one of the one pitfall that I do see is that they don't have the conversation to match. They think they understand what that text says, and it's not enough, or there's not enough a shared understanding.
Is the picture with complex and a certain area, complex area,
Kind of the
start
back of the map impact.
lagging at least when you get out of the complex situation when you don't know anything about it, or there's too much information.
If there's too much information, that's
There's a problem, dude. We're gonna do TDD, and then we're gonna do BDD, and it's like, why are you doing it? Right? Because if you just want more tests and the geeks are gonna do them, then do whatever. If you actually are trying to kind of get people to collaborate so you can improve the quality of your product, then stay away from like buzzwords and tool junkies. Because this BDD thing is like, all the geeks thought, oh, this is going to change the world, and it's like, yeah, that's true, because your unit tests have sucked. And now they're going to suck less, but that's not what Jan's talking about. That's not the thread that her book is on about. It's more about making these connections, and trying to create ecosystems where people work together. I had to go get some coffee. Good jam.
Right.
yeah.
Thank